World first, tier 4, Scarlet Witch is a cautionary tale. We're going to unpack that a little bit later, but first I want to go over the build that's got me to rank 23. We've got 16 Odin's Blessings. We've got Rogue right now as the striker, but I will switch it in momentarily to Ghost Rider here for the testing that I want to do. We have rank 5 type enhancement. We've got the Power Vanguard ISO 8 set. We do have a 6-star artifact, which we got a long time ago, actually through a selector from Black Friday. With the right instinct there. And then we have a 160 might, so basically the lowest rolled possible Mighty Rage. Her uniform options, if you didn't see them from the post, it's MODOK, which is good, which is okay. Green Goblin, which is Red Goblin, Green Goblin, which is really good. Namor, which is good. Wolverine, which is really good. And then Strife, which is good. So very, very good optionals. Now, as far as the rotation goes and the skills go, a lot of new skills for Scarlet Witch. They look very cool. They look very nice. She's got a brand new first skill like that. She's got a brand new second skill like that. It's similar to her old second skill, but it is new and updated. Brand new third skill looks quite cool with this tornado. Brand new fourth skill, which is probably going to give some people motion sickness. Yep. And then she do the beam. And then a brand new fifth skill that looks very cool. Reminds me of some of the symbiote abilities where you have a head coming from the bottom and crunching up the baddies. Only downside really to her skills is no new tier 3. That's really the only downside and the only thing that I can see people complaining about. Yeah, no new tier 3, same old tier 3, same old meatballs. Just keep in mind that you can cancel it as soon as she slams down on the ground. The other thing I want to point out is her fifth skill has these really cool kind of astrological kind of starry effects underneath where the lion's head sort of appears. It's kind of hard to see, but you can see it there where you see these like dots showing up. And I just wanted to point that out because if you take a closer look at her outfit, which I actually really like, you can see there's like a galaxy inside of the tapering there on the front and back. Really, really cool. And it's also on her hair. Pretty nice stuff. So yeah, aesthetically, as far as the skills go, I think this is a big win. However, the reason why I said it's a cautionary tale is because of the immediate comparison, and it's a comparison that makes sense. It's a respectable comparison. It is Captain Marvel. Everyone is asking how much better is Scarlet Witch than Captain Marvel. She's a more expensive version of Captain Marvel. How good is she? How much better is she? And here's the issue. There's two main issues. The first one, besides the obvious being that Captain Marvel is cheaper than Scarlet Witch, and Captain Marvel can be made even cheaper still by using this here. So that's sort of, besides all that, right? The main issue is Team Up Collection. The Avengers Team Up Collection just came out, and Captain Marvel is part of that. So any testing I did with Scarlet Witch versus Captain Marvel when they were level 80 and they had the same build, the same CTP, wasn't fair. It wasn't as accurate as it could be because Captain Marvel's rocking an extra 30% attack and an extra 5% pierce. So what I want to say as a cautionary tale is basically this. If you were thinking of tier 4 in Captain Marvel, or if you already did, then I think you should consider waiting on Scarlet Witch. Additionally, if you invested into this and you have 3, 4, 5% pierce, probably 3 or 5, there's no 4. If you have 3 or 5 or 10% pierce from this Avengers Part 1, then probably Captain Marvel is going to do better for you than Scarlet Witch because of all that pierce and all that extra attack. Will that change in the future when Scarlet Witch becomes part of a Team Up Collection? Sure. But for the meantime, she does have to compete with a Captain Marvel that has more access to those abilities. The other thing I want to point out in this comparison, not that I want to spend too much longer on this, but Captain Marvel is human, which is a big tag for a lot of World Boss stages. And then she has not 1, not 2, but 3 relevant abilities, right? Leadership is probably the most relevant ability for World Boss. Energy projection is not bad, and then she has fast movement. Now there's overlap here because Scarlet Witch also has fast movement. She doesn't have energy projection, which is used in World Boss Legend. She doesn't have leadership at all, which also means she doesn't synergize with White Fox. And then she has Chaos Magic, which doesn't have any options or any restrictions in World Boss Legend. Plus, she is an other ally, not human, not alien, which also has no stages for World Boss Legend. So it's not an exaggeration to say that Scarlet Witch has very few stages compared to Captain Marvel. It is startling the number of stages compared to, comparing these two characters. That being said, cautionary tales aside, I do want to highlight the game modes where I think Scarlet Witch is going to excel and is going to be as good or better than Captain Marvel, and in my opinion, much easier to play, which is a huge bonus. So we're going to start off with ABL, but it's the same thing for ABX. It's a really easy rotation. You just cancel everything into 4. You literally just cancel everything into 4, then you wait a little bit, then you do it all over again. That's the whole rotation. When the tier 3 is up after the 4th skill is done, you kick that off, you wait a little bit, and then you start it all over again. It's super duper easy. It's super fun, and as you can see, it's very, very effective. Now, sure, you can get a similar score with Captain Marvel, especially now that she has access to, like I said, 40% extra attack and pierce and stuff like that. However, if you don't have that, then Scarlet Witch becomes a much better option. That's the first thing. And then the second thing is, even if you do have that, Captain Marvel is notably more difficult to play than this because she has a wonky rotation with lots of sort of in-betweener skills. Scarlet Witch doesn't really have these in-betweener skills. She sort of has it with 1 and 2, but not nearly as bad. So yeah, and if I can not only explain the character but play them well on the very first night of them coming out, you know that they're super easy to play for ABX and ABL. Really, that's in my opinion a good benchmark. So I'm really happy with this. As you can see, we're already gearing up to tackle 7 million, over 7 million, 7.5. I think that's great. Okay, we should have charged that up a little bit better. But I like this rotation as well because it allows you to collect the energy. Now, one issue that Scarlet Witch has that I've noticed is because she's an iframe a lot, she often is not near the energy when it spawns. So you just want to be careful. You just sort of have to handle that because it can be tricky if you don't, if you don't kind of allot for that. So I do want to point that out. The energy sort of tries to figure out where you are. And if it doesn't know where you are, then it's just kind of spawns somewhere random. Sometimes it's close to you, sometimes it's not. And so sort of like Magneto, her dad, I use the first skill to get out of her animations a little bit faster so that I can go and collect the energy. Like this one, for example, that's about to spawn. If I'm going to be an iframe for this one, it might spawn somewhere random. Okay, it spawned right on top of me, which is really good. But if it didn't, then I would have to go and chase it down, which is bad. Well, we're going to go ahead here. We're already at 11. This is so good, man. Mighty Rage build. Hitting 12 million. Easy peasy. No need to worry about the team-up collection. And by the way, we didn't really talk about it, but the team-up collection, it's all well and good that Captain Marvel has access to it. But the fact of the matter is that it's paywall, right? And so you have an option between a character that hits almost 13 million with a Mighty Rage with no team-up collection required versus, sure, a character that can hit maybe 12, maybe 13, maybe 14, maybe 15. But that's going to require the team-up collection, right? And in my opinion, much more difficult playstyle. So that is why I said, and that's why I phrased the video as caution, a buyer beware sort of thing, cautionary tale, because people rushing to tier 4 Scarlet Witch, I think, are going to be maybe disappointed, where she's not just like crushing, obliterating Captain Marvel, but that is in large part because of this. I think if I didn't have this, if I could turn back the clock, turn back time, and sort of, cancel this or sort of shut it down, turn it off, and then test them, I think she would be a much more obvious winner. Now, one more thing I do want to point out here as a sort of different sort of test, because they do have a very similar build, is I want to test out Scarlet Witch here with no supports, because there are no hero supports here. There's only villain supports here for stage 45. We're just going to do a quick little test on the first phase of the fight versus Black Bolt, because my Black Bolt, still a pretty well built, rank 500. He's got 12 Odin's Blessings instead of 16, sure, but he's got the 5-star artifact. He's got the Mighty Rage with a 180 proc, right? He's very similarly built when compared to Captain or Scarlet Witch, and he also doesn't have a team-up collection. So we're going to test them both here. We're going to use Anti-Man's Lead. That's fine. And we're just going to use these strikers here. So we're just going to do the first phase of the fight, but it's basically the same rotation for World Boss as it is in ABX, ABL, where you're just popping, canceling everything into 5, and then going for gold here. We're going to cancel quickly into 6, and then do the co-op so we don't get destroyed by those, purple circles there. You got to be a little careful. She's going to dive bomb us here in a second. Okay. Let her dash, go into this rotation. You definitely have to babysit the timers a little bit with Wanda. Not timers, but like sort of your timing, because otherwise she can be stuck in her 4th skill animation, and then she gets kind of rocked by these attacks. So you got to be careful. But we're gonna pop the tier 3 here, and then just hold on to the co-op skill because it's got that useful kind of get out of jail free component like that. And then you also have to be careful with Scarlet Witch because she's slow. So that is one thing that some people don't like, is characters that have the sort of the storm sickness, where they're really, really slow on their feet. Yeah, Captain Marvel's Scarlet Witch is pretty slow. So there we go, 341. Now I know Black Bolt has access to Green Goblin and Proxima, so he has, supports that he could use. But the point here is not to give them their best team, just to highlight how much damage Scarlet Witch is doing in relation to other characters. And I know that Black Bolt is not the most current character, and some people might be confused because, he's not a female universal hero. But the thing is, there's just not that many stages that you can compare these characters on, because like I said, they're almost completely different in so many ways, right? Not human, human versus other, and that sort of thing. So it's and also the abilities are completely different. So you have to find a way to test these characters where it's going to make sense. And this is one of the only that I found that is going to make sense with very, very similar builds, right? Both tier 4, both Mighty Rage, this sort of thing. We're going to get hit by this, but that's fine. It's not going to make too big of a difference. As long as we don't die here. She's taking a lot of damage. Okay, let's juice it up. So 341 is the time to beat here. Gonna co-op. But as you can see here, it's very similar, or maybe a tad bit faster. I'd say it's pretty much on the nose. So that's, I think, where you can kind of balance out, and I would say that that's probably a good litmus test for Scarlet Witch's damage, is about Black Bolt's damage, which I think is good. Again, I don't think it is going to impress everybody, especially because they expected Scarlet Witch to just be head and shoulders above everybody else in her same category. But again, the downside is she's not really relevant for that many stages of World Boss, and where she is really going to excel, ABX, ABL, she's clearly good at it. Now, again, some people are still not going to be happy enough with her performance based on how well Captain Marvel can perform. But again, I point out that has more to do with Team Up Collection than anything else. Because if you take away Team Up Collection, then Scarlet Witch is the clear winner. Does she need a buff, all things considered? I kind of don't think so. But I would love to hear from you guys in the comments down below. I know, obviously, fans of the character are always going to want them to be stronger and stronger and stronger. So, yeah, it is what it is. Also, I did quite a bit of testing with a judgment. I really didn't like it. It's certainly an option, but especially with the recent addition of guaranteed crit rate on her tier 2 passive, Fatal Curse, I think a Rage is by far the best option because of that guaranteed crit rate. I think it just really synergizes well with things and makes her very smooth and very fun to play. And for me, that's a big deal. But yeah, I'd love to hear from you guys. Thank you so much for watching the video. World first is still a meme. Smash the like button if you enjoyed the content, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care.